in foreign direct investment, the FDI, international foreign reserves, and tourism revenues. FDI fell 124% in the first quarter of 2011. Numerous rich countries have vowed to help Egypt via grants, loans, deposits, and investments, but they can be divided into two categories, oral and actual, because not all of the countries have fulfilled their promises yet. Egypt's petrol and energy sectors received the vast majority of the funding at $2.6 billion from international, Islamic, African, Saudi, Kuwaiti, and European finance institutions. Following Abu Naga's statement, Ahram Online investigated the volume of aid that Egypt has received from major countries, and Ahram is citing from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, United States, G8, European Union, Islamic banks, World Bank, International Monetary Fund. So if we're going to speak about the aid that Egypt received and which Egypt will receive, currently there are negotiations regarding a new loan from the World Bank. How do you see these negotiations, especially that before the elections and before electing President Morsi and during the last parliament, all these loans were rejected by the Freedom and Justice Party?
They were rejected because they didn't find stability in Egypt. They didn't find the government able to pay back what Egypt is going to take. And now they find there is a government and there is a regime. But of course, a very heavy price for this loan. In the beginning they were saying that it will be $3.2 billion. And today the finance minister is saying that I'm going to ask for 4.7, I think, billion dollars. We will pay price. How are we going to pay this back? Economy is fragile, and people are not working, and they don't donate money for nothing. There will be conditions, very difficult conditions, that will destabilize society and that will affect stability in Egypt, and there will be more protests and more anger from the people.
But the Freedom and Justice Party also, they were rejecting these loans, or the idea of having loans from international organizations, and they said that this is the easiest solution, and they didn't want it before.
But this was before they were in rule. Now they are ruling. They rejected Dr. Ganzouri, and then they rejected Dr. Ganzouri, and then later they found that he is a very respectable person. They rejected the loan, and now they say that we must accept the loans. To be out is different from being in rule. To be in control, you find on the ground, as they say, realities that they didn't see when they were just opposition. Now they are government, not opposition, and they are doing everything they rejected before.
And now we move to the Independent, from which we read Robert Fisk: "They snipe at us, then run and hide in sewers." Our writer was given exclusive access to the Assad generals accused of war crimes as they seek to defeat the rebels in Aleppo. Mortars clashed into the middle-class streets around us, and a T-72 tank baked in the heat under a road viaduct. But Bashar al-Assad's most senior operational commander in Aleppo, a 53-year-old major general with 33 years in the military and 2 bullet wounds from last month's battles in Damascus, claims he can clean the whole province of Aleppo from terrorists in 20 days. Now that is quite a boast, especially in the Saif al-Dawla suburb of the city, where sniper fire snapped down leafy streets, for the Battle of Aleppo is far from over. So, Mrs. Hala, the situation in Syria is deteriorating day after day. But if you look to the President Bashar al-Assad, I mean, when he was going to pray for Eid prayers, for example, it seems that there is nothing. I mean, life is normal there. But on the other hand, when you see the number of casualties and the violence, you see it from the other side.
In fact, I don't know how does he go to prayers in the first place. How can he meet God and the prayer and said, please forgive me? How can he do that? And he's killing his people every day. Of course, he goes to a place that is
very
secured
yes.
For his arrival, and they only bring people supporting him, and you never see anyone opposing him in the prayers. And it seems as if people like him, and they are very happy with the killings and with their country destroyed. But this is not the truth, of course. And I think this president, as he killed so many people, he must be killed at the end like Muammar Gaddafi or like Iraqi president. He must find, yes, he must take a lesson from what happened before to Iraq or to Syria. He must learn from them, but he's not learning, and he's very obstinate, and he insists that his people are mice. The opposition are just group of mice, and he despises them, and he describes them as terrorists, not as citizens. He doesn't accept the fact that he is a tyrant. He is oppressing his own people, and this is not acceptable from his people or from any other person.
And how do you see the U.S. threats that there might be a military intervention in Syria?
After a year and a half, maybe. Maybe they don't want to go to the ground. They didn't want to go to the ground in Syria. If they wanted to intervene, they must have intervened before. Yes.
Some time ago.
What prevented them?
And now we move to the Los Angeles Times, from which we read, Iran unveils upgraded surface-to-surface ballistic missile. Iran's president today unveiled an upgraded version of a short-range surface-to-surface ballistic missile just weeks after it was test-fired, the country's state media reported. At the ceremony for Fateh 110 or Conqueror, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad told a group of defense officials that Iran wants to advance its defense technology not in an aggressive context but as a deterrence. So how do you see such an action in such a timing, especially that 2 days ago there was an announcement from Iran that its missiles could reach any place in the world?
Yes, but the most important for them is to reach Israel and the United States bases in the region, and they already have missiles that can reach, that can target Israel and can target military bases of the United States in the region. But Iran is developing its military might for quite some time, and they are, in fact, behaving like an empire. They want to be the biggest power in the region. Not only because they are against the United States or against Israel, because they never shot Israel. They never had even one round of fire against Israel. They didn't have any suicidal attack against Israel from Iran, anything against Israel. They are just saying that, but they never do it. But they are talking all the time and developing their military might to be the biggest power in the region, to control everything. And just yesterday, I think, when Iranian official said that we will not allow President Assad to be toppled. Who are they to accept or allow or not allow?
Yes.
Syrians only have this power or have this right. Iran doesn't have this right, but as a superpower in the region, they expect.
Can say, yes.
They must have this power.
Yes. Speaking about Iran, the president or the presidential office announced that President Morsi will attend the non-aligned summit in Iran. How do you see this visit?
It's just normal. We are part of a grouping, and we are taking part in this grouping summit in Iran or in any other place. They say that after January Revolution, relations improved, and what prevented these relations from improving before January 25? Yes.
Yes.
What happened? They welcomed the killing of the former president, and this is not diplomatic at all.
Of course.
And then they took line that is against Egypt, and they expected Egypt to accept that, and of course it's very difficult for Egypt to accept that. And now there is no change in Egypt. President Morsi is an Egyptian president, and he will put into consideration Egyptian interests first. I think it is just hocus pocus.
And now we move to The Guardian, from which we read, Al-Qaeda's surge spells further turmoil for Iraq. Jihadist groups are seeking to undermine the Shia-dominated government of Iraq and plunge the country further into chaos. As the political turmoil in Iraq continues, insurgent groups are taking the opportunity to escalate their attacks and further destabilize the country. Their aim is as simple as it is deadly: to stir sectarian tensions and win back territory. So, Mrs. Hala, again, we're facing violence in Iraq day after day, and here in The Guardian they say that they want to have a sectarian war.
Strife, yes.
So who is behind all this?
Who is behind all this? We can't describe these people as patriotic. They are seeking their own interests, but there is a religious pretext. We are Muslims fighting Christians, for example, or Sunnis fighting Shiite. There must be religious pretext, but the fact is not religious. This war is not because of religion. Sunnis are Iraqis and Shiites are Iraqis, and they were elected. This government was elected. The Shiite government was elected by Iraqis, so they must accept it. But you cannot forget that Al-Qaeda and Jihad had a strong blow in Yemen, and they must compensate, find some kind of compensation in another place, and so they are going to Iraq when the United States forces are leaving, and the Iraqi government forces are not yet so strong to face them and to face their challenge, so they must come now and use religion as a pretext to have their interests.
Mrs. Hala, we have to wrap up our episode. Dear viewers, I would like to thank my guest in the studio, Mrs. Hala Enara, the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Middle East News Agency. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hala Enara, for joining us. Thank you. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Many thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the Daily Debate coming up next. Happy Feast.